Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. General Hospital spoilers make us wonder whether Nina Reeves' 6 forceful words hinted to a Sunny Corinthos reunion? There may yet be hope for Sunny and Nina to reconcile. So let us discuss Nina's clue in GH's May 8th episode. Nina spent some time at the Metro Court Bar catching up with Curtis Ashford, which naturally led to her tirade about Drew Kane. Curtis and Nina, on the other hand, discussed the referendum and the ongoing battle against Sunny in Port Charles. Drew eventually joined Tracy Quartermaine, Jordan Ashford, Jen Sidwell, and Marco Rios for what was essentially an anti-Sunny conference. There is a strong push against Sunny right now, but Nina has made it clear who she favors. That takes us to those 6 powerful words, which could pave the way for Sunny and Nina's passionate reunion. "Despite everything, I'm still on Team Sunny," Nina proclaimed. Of course, this does not guarantee Nina and Sunny will have another romantic chapter, but it does not rule it out. The fact that Nina continues to support Sunny is a step in the right way. Nina can still support Sunny without reconnecting with him, yet some fans hope they will be a couple again eventually. There's no disputing that Sunny and Nina's romance was unusual, so revisiting it could be interesting. For a moment, it appeared that Sunny's friendship with Natalia Ramirez was about to take a love turn, but everything went apart. Sunny cut connections with Natalia after he discovered she had misled him about Sidwell being her ex-husband with whom she has a son. Sunny has just reconnected with Carly Spencer. But is this to bring them closer to a reunion, or to deepen their co-parenting relationship? Sunny's future is uncertain, so reconnecting with Nina is still an option. What are your thoughts on Nina and Sunny reconciling? Sunny will continue to make predictions about getting out of the mob, so we'll see what changes he takes to his life once it happens. According to General Hospital spoilers, Sunny will face additional problems, so stay tuned for all of the shocking news and massive messes to come. Chris McKenna joined General Hospital this year, taking over for Charles Measure as Jack Brennan. This week he announced an amazing mega event, for which tickets are immediately on sale. Read on for more information. A big announcement. On May 7th, the ABC Star and Coastal Entertainment collaborated on an Instagram post announcing an exciting event for daytime drama watchers. The poster included Finola Hughes, Chris, and Eden McCoy. I'm not sure about other General Hospital fans, but after this depressing week, I'm ready for the nurses' ball. I could use some entertainment and excitement for a change. Dante needs a Snickers because he wasn't himself, and Willow has to hit her head to come to terms with Drew. The soap's continuous politics have become too much. But will this storyline finally release Sunny and Jason from the mob? Let's talk. The blame game. Everyone could tell that following Rocco's near-fatal alcohol poisoning, Dante was blaming everyone but himself for what happened to his son. Every day he would blame someone else. Viewers promptly called Dante out on his uncharacteristic behavior, causing conflict between him and Gio just before it was revealed that Dante is Joe's father. Well, this has blown my previous column's prediction that Gio would reject Brook Lynn and accept Dante when the truth is known. By Friday's episode, Dante had began to see the flaws of his ways, but has the damage been done between him and Gio? On many levels, Gio is still a child, and Dante's rage and hatred will remain with him. We'd better get a darn decent apology from Dante to Gio next week. Bravo to Rocco for calling out his father's behavior, stressing that no one forced him to drink all that alcohol and that he did so on his own. The only aspect of Dante's blame tour that I agreed with was his criticism of Jason for being a bad dad, because Jason has always prioritized Sunny, Carly, and their children. However, Dante appeared to offer Jason some food for thought, and Jason realized he needed to adjust things with Danny going ahead. Jason's revelation that Danny couldn't have gotten away with this if he hadn't been with Sunny could be his version of Sunny's Mike moment from last week. Drew the schmuck. Even though we know Nina and Portia set Drew up, his character has become so unlikable that it's tough to feel sympathy for him. Drew has admitted that Portia drugged him, owing to Brad, and it is evident that he intends to continue being Port Charles's biggest slimeball. By the end of the week, it was clear what he had asked Brad for: a vial of ketamine, and he warned Brad that there would be much destruction to come. Drew, what are your plans for that vial? I have some opinions on that which we will discuss. When Willow felt the bottle in Drew's jacket while hugging him and he explained that it was a vitamin infusion from his doctor, all I could think was, oh, come on. Actually, I can't say what was going through my mind at the time. Willow is a nurse. Will she buy that load of bull? With everyone in town basically telling her that the only reason she feels Drew is innocent and was drugged is that it would force her to face the terrible mistakes she's made for this man. And now that she's discovered the vial, will she wise up? Other storyline ponderings. I was astounded that Brad exited the building the way he did. But what does this entail for Aunt Selena? Will she simply drift away again? Hopefully, Brad will return in the future to cause more problems in Port Charles. Sasha notifying Jason about Willow's journey to see Michael will hopefully expose Drew's attempts to hinder the visit. And speaking of Sasha, as much as I enjoy seeing people give Willow hell, she is not the one who should be doing it, considering the baby she is carrying. Thanks to Lois' protection of Gio, Lulu is getting closer to discovering he is Brook Lynn and Dante's son. She isn't giving up, even if Tracy appears to be putting her in her place next week. As much as I adore Tracy and her big takedowns, I didn't like how quickly she turned on Lois and demonized her for pushing Brook Lynn to give up her baby. Lois, on the other hand, retaliated effectively against Tracy, pointing out that she abandoned Ned and Dylan on her family. I can't wait to watch Tracy's reaction when she knows Gio has linked the QS to Sunny through blood. I suspected Emma might also be in the WSB, and I was almost right. She told Joss that Dalton's lab was the reason she was dismissed from Berkeley, and she is at PCU to expose whatever horrible things he is up to. Despite this discovery, the espionage storyline has yet to pique my interest. Sidwell's offer to buy Sunny's peers not only answers Sunny's quandary of how to exit the business, but it also appears to resolve the conflict that his connection with Laura is bringing her. Then there was Jason, who, understanding he needed to be more of a parent to Danny, stated that things had to change. This might be the change. We know Blaze will be back soon and is presently on tour with Miguel. In Friday's episode, Lulu also made numerous references to Ricky Martin's old character. Could we be livin' La Vida Loca at this year's Nurses Ball? So, who is Drew going to inject with the ketamine? My hunch is Sunny or Jason, but let's have this backfire terribly on Drew. Someone, ideally Willow, should get the incorrect drink at the ball and embarrass themselves. Finally, I've mentioned it before, but the nurses' ball must be when Michael. Nina's recent remark has sent shockwaves through the General Hospital fans, fueling fervent speculation about a possible reconciliation with Sunny. The 6 words she said were simple yet meaningful, leaving admirers wondering if this was the start of a rekindled romance, or just another twist in their convoluted relationship. Nina and Sunny's relationship is rife with passion, betrayal, and unresolved tension, making any sign of reconciliation a hot topic. Their relationship has always been magnetic, drawing viewers in with its intensity, and now with just a few perfectly selected words, Nina may have sparked the prospect of them reuniting. The context of Nina's comment is critical to comprehending its meaning. Was she chatting casually, or was there a deeper meaning behind her words? Fans have dissected every line, scrutinizing her tone, body language, and the circumstances surrounding the comment. Some feel it was a deliberate maneuver to test the waters and see how Sunny, and the audience, reacted. Others believe it was an emotional slip, a moment of vulnerability that exposed her actual feelings. Regardless of intent, the consequence is undeniable. The prospect of a Nina and Sunny reunion has resurfaced. Sunny's current condition also influences this speculation. His relationships have always been an important part of the show, and his connection with Nina has been one of the most engaging. Sunny's love life, whether with Carly, Brenda, or someone else, is never straightforward. If Nina is hinting at a reunion, how will it influence his other relationships? Would Carly take this as a betrayal, or would she accept it as a result of Sunny's erratic personality? The consequences of a Nina and Sunny reunion might reverberate across Port Charles, affecting friendships, business deals, and family loyalty. Nina's character development is also an important consideration. She's changed dramatically since her inception, from an angry schemer to a more complex, sympathetic character. If she and Sunny were to reunite, would it be on equal terms this time? Will old wounds and power inequalities resurface? Their history was defined by manipulation and secrets, but if both characters have truly changed, a second chance may result in a happier, more stable partnership. Fans have witnessed glimpses of their chemistry even during dispute, implying that there is still something between them worth exploring. Of course, not everyone agrees that Nina's statements were a sincere attempt at reconciliation. Some fans feel that it could be a red herring, a ploy by the writers to generate interest without ever revisiting the pairing. Soap operas are infamous for their twists and diversions, and what appears to be a clear signal one day may turn out to be nothing the next. Alternatively, Nina's remark could have been misinterpreted. Perhaps she was talking to something completely unrelated, and admirers are reading too much into it. The capacity of General Hospital to keep viewers guessing is one of its most appealing aspects, and this is no exception. The prospect of a Nina and Sunny reunion raises concerns about the fate of other characters. How would Willow react, given her tangled relationship with Nina and Sunny? What about Michael, who has already clashed with Sunny? The Corinthos family dynamics are constantly altering, and a new romantic relationship for Sunny could jeopardize the fragile harmony that has been achieved. On the other side, it could result in unexpected alliances and new plots, providing the writers with new material to explore. One thing is certain: if Nina and Sunny do reunite, things will not go smoothly. Their relationship has never been simple, and any attempt to restart it will undoubtedly face significant challenges. Trust would have to be re-established, previous mistakes corrected, and external pressures overcome. The drama, emotion, and high stakes are what make their pairing so appealing. Fans are drawn to tumultuous, unpredictable love stories, and Nina and Sunny certainly meet the bill. Nothing is off the table in General Hospital, a world full with secrets and surprises around every corner. Nina's 6 words could have been a passing remark, or they could be the beginning step toward a significant plotline. Only time will tell whether this suggestion leads to a full-fledged reunion or fades away as another what-if in the show's lengthy history. Until then, fans will continue to wonder, discuss, and pray for the return of one of Port Charles's most captivating couples. The significance of Nina's statements goes beyond the possibility of a romantic reunion. It also addresses the bigger issues of forgiveness and second chances, which General Hospital frequently tackles. Can people actually change? Or will they continue to make the same mistakes? If Nina and Sunny are able to reconcile, it could prove that love can endure despite past betrayals. However, if they don't, it may perpetuate the belief that some wounds are too deep to be healed. Regardless, the emotional weight of their history ensures that any interaction between them is meaningful. The authors of General Hospital have a talent for keeping audiences interested by messing with expectations. They understand that relationships like Nina and Sunny's are fertile ground for drama, and they aren't afraid to tease the audience with possibilities before taking the tale in an entirely other route. This unpredictability is one of the reasons the show has lasted so long. Whether Nina's comment was a true clue or just another twist in the ever-changing story, it sparked conversation. As spectators anticipate more events, one thing is clear: Nina and Sunny's chemistry is undeniable. Even when they disagree, there's a spark that keeps the scenes interesting. If the writers chose to rekindle their romance, it might revitalize both characters, providing new obstacles and potential for growth. Alternatively, if they continue to be apart, their tension will boil, creating material for future fights and emotional occasions. Finally, Nina's 6 words are powerful because they are ambiguous. They've opened the door to endless options, and it's up to the show's creative staff to decide where the tale goes next. For the time being, fans may enjoy the conjecture, discussions, and excitement of not knowing what will happen next. After all, everything is possible in Port Charles, and it frequently does. The debate over Nina's comment also demonstrates the intense engagement of General Hospital's followers. Viewers don't just watch the show passively. They study, theorize, and become emotionally invested in the characters' stories. This kind of attention demonstrates the show's capacity to develop complex, multidimensional relationships that connect with audiences. Whether they support a Nina and Sunny reunion or oppose it, fans are strongly invested in the outcome, which is a sign of good storytelling. As the story progresses, one can't help but wonder about the real-life consequences of such a meeting. Will it raise ratings? Will it appease longtime supporters or turn off those who prefer Sunny with different partners? The writers must strike a balance between creative decisions and audience expectations, which is a natural difficulty for serialized drama. Whatever course they take, The General Hospital spoilers for Friday, May 9th, show that Jason Morgan will hit back, while Drew Kane's threats escalate. Lulu Spencer will also look for intel, so here's what GH fans should expect. For openers, Ned Quartermaine will share the hot seat with Tracy Quartermaine. As they debate the referendum drama, Tracy appears to be questioning Ned's commitment to the mob or his mother. Tracy will encounter some surprises on Friday's show, and one of them may involve Ned's unexpected stance. Whatever the case, Ned will eventually turn his focus to Lulu, as it appears she will interview him for her adoption article. Lulu will most likely ask Ned about his experience adopting Leo Quartermaine, but she may also include questions about Brook Lynn Quartermaine and Lois Cerullo. Lulu's doubts about Giovanni Gio Palmieri's genuine parentage have grown, so she'll try to figure out where Lois was when Gio was born. Ned knows nothing about Brook Lynn's secret baby boy, but he may be able to supply some information that can help Lulu. Lulu's search for information should lead her to validate her theory that Gio is Brook Lynn and Dante Falconeri's son. Speaking of Dante, he'll be busy arguing with Jason now that he's hinted at prosecuting Danny Morgan with accessory to manslaughter. Jason will question if Dante means to carry out that threat, but he clearly does not, as Rocco Falconeri survived his ordeal. Dante is unable to charge Danny with a fatal crime, but he believes Danny deserves worse punishment. Jason will respond to Dante, maybe arguing that he can decide how to parent Danny. Dante should focus on Rocco instead, and recognize that his kid is to blame for the excessive alcohol consumption. Danny will want to apologize to both Lulu and Rocco, so he will go to their residence. That will offer Lulu the opportunity to scold Danny and foresee the end of his carefree days. Danny will exhibit genuine contrition, so Lulu may be willing to forgive him. Unlike Dante, Lulu seemed more willing to admit that some common adolescent blunders were committed. That doesn't diminish how terrible everything was, but Lulu should largely be grateful that Rocco is fine and Danny has learned his lesson. Next, Willow Corinthos will quiz Curtis Ashford about Aurora's revelation on Drew, who will continue to tighten his grip on Portia Robinson in her office. Despite Portia's attempts to avoid Drew's demands, he would not back down. Drew's threats will get even more severe, especially now that Brad Cooper has offered more leverage. Will Drew surprise Portia by stating that he knows she was engaged in the ketamine plot? Regardless, Portia will not be able to escape Drew's blackmail plot anytime soon. Sonny Corinthos will receive updates on Jen Sidwell's alluring offer. Sidwell, with the help of Jordan Ashford, will try to persuade Sonny to accept a certain agreement that will benefit them both. Will Sonny accept Sidwell's plan or reject him because he is untrustworthy? Sonny will have to be cautious because Sidwell is usually up to no good. Alexis Davis will speak with Brook Lynn and Harrison Chase on Friday's show. Alexis may have some advice for Chase and Brook Lynn as they prepare for the adoption process. Finally, General Hospital spoilers suggest Willow and Sasha Gilmore Corbin will cross paths, resulting in some explosive tension to end the week. According to the General Hospital recap for Thursday, May 8th, Dante Falconeri threatened Danny Morgan with complicity to manslaughter charges as Brad Cooper fled Port Charles. At GH, Brad grabbed some attention as he paraded around in a beautiful suit. Lucas Jones and Elizabeth Baldwin were surprised to learn Brad was leaving town, but they quietly felt this would be beneficial to Portia Robinson. In Portia's office, she called Nina Reeves and encouraged her to watch the news. Nina watched Drew Kane's press conference claiming being purposefully drugged with ketamine on her iPad at Metro Court, fuming as Willow Corinthos backed him up. After Nina complained to Curtis Ashford about Willow remaining by Drew despite finding him with an escort, Curtis admitted that Drew appeared to be set up. Tracy Quartermaine gathered nearby with Jordan Ashford, Jen Sidwell and Marco Rios, afraid that Drew's current turmoil would jeopardize their struggle against Sonny Corinthos. Sidwell minimized the scandal before Marco urged on becoming serious if they wanted to pursue Sonny, which meant utilizing a popular figure with some appeal. Drew spoke up, insisting that he had the charisma, and that the audience loves to rally behind someone who proved allegations incorrect. Drew took off after ensuring Willow's support, and that the person responsible for his drugging ordeal would be prosecuted. Back in Portia's office, she tried to get information from Willow about Drew's drug case. Willow was convinced that Drew's name would be cleared, but Portia attempted to act as if she was mistaken about him. When Isaiah Gannon spoke with Willow, he adopted a more supportive attitude, praising her for following her instincts. Willow said she needed a court to believe Drew's version of the incident because it could influence custody of her children. Brad then delivered Portia his resignation letter and ultimately met up with Drew to hand him an envelope. Drew informed Brad that he would take down Portia, but on his own pace, with plenty of destruction to go around. Brad also saw Lucas one more time before departing Port Charles. Lucas knew this was for the best, but he wished Brad well as he stepped into the elevator. Drew went to Portia's office next and asked for her assistance in regulating Curtis Aurora coverage. Drew also wanted Curtis to rally behind Ezra Boyle, as part of his strategy to pursue Sonny. Isaiah inspected Sonny at his home after his return flight. Jason Morgan was also present when Dante walked in with charges that Danny almost killed Rocco Falconeri last night. That led to Dante's narrative about Danny dragging Rocco to a party and the subsequent alcohol poisoning. Dante stated that Rocco was well, but he was plainly angry and shaken up by what had transpired. Dante blamed Jason more than Danny because he let his son to go wild. After Jason departed to speak with Danny about the ruckus, Dante ranted to Sonny about Giovanni Gio Palmieri's role in what happened. Sonny gave Gio a pass, which irritated Dante because his father sounded like Lois Cerullo. Even still, Sonny felt Dante was just terrified and needed someone to blame. On Friday's episode of General Hospital, Dante confesses to Sonny that he couldn't bear losing a son. At the Quartermain mansion, Sasha Gilmore Corbin admitted that she had heard what happened last night. Danny felt like a jerk for the mess he made, but Sasha thought it was wonderful that he realized what he was doing was wrong. Sasha was kind to Danny and gave him some advice about learning from his mistakes, so Jason saw the pleasant moment as he entered nearby. When Jason was alone with Danny, he learned his son's account of what had happened. Jason urged Danny not to place himself in such a scenario and allow it to spiral out of hand again. After stressing the necessity of Danny and Rocco watching out for one another as brothers, Jason made Danny check in with him every night. Jason reassured Danny of his trust and was confident that his son would benefit from this. Once Dante came, Danny apologized for everything. Dante claimed he knew before Danny left the room. That left Dante to question Jason about the repercussions for Danny, as talking to him was insufficient in his perspective. Dante announced that Danny might face accessory to manslaughter charges, which surprised Jason. Meanwhile, Tracy requested that Marco deliver a message to Sidwell on her behalf. Tracy predicted that if Sidwell was successful in getting rid of Sonny, he would have complete access to Port Charles. "And I will personally make sure he gets the key," Tracy assured. Jordan and Sidwell returned to Sonny's house, hoping to get a moment with him. Sidwell argued that he could make it worthwhile for Sonny. According to General Hospital teasers, Sidwell will give Sonny an update on a startling pitch shortly. The tension in Port Charles reached a boiling point as Jason Morgan made his next move, retaliating against Drew Kane's constant threats. The air in the hospital corridors was thick with anxiety, the typical hum of medical machinery and whispered discussions overpowered by an unspoken conflict between two men who had previously been allies, or at least not outright foes. But now, with betrayal hanging over them like a toxic fog, neither was willing to back down. Drew's warnings had become increasingly serious, with threats of destruction if Jason did not comply with his demands. Jason, on the other hand, had never given in to intimidation, and tonight he demonstrated why. The morning began like any other at General Hospital, with nurses rushing between rooms and doctors reading files. But beneath the surface, everyone sensed something was wrong. Carly Corinthos was uncharacteristically silent, her usual fiery personality tempered as she exchanged uneasy looks with Sam McCall near the nurses' station. Even Elizabeth Weber, who was usually totally focused on her patients, had noticed the shift in energy and cast anxious glances toward the door, as if anticipating an explosion at any minute. Then it occurred. Jason walked through the automatic doors, his countenance unreadable but his presence drawing immediate attention. He didn't need to raise his voice or make a scene. His sheer presence was enough to cause a ripple in the room. Nurses paused in their steps, orderlies hesitated, and even Bobby Spencer, who had witnessed decades of drama within these walls, straightened slightly behind the reception counter. Jason's gaze fixed on Drew, who stood near the elevators, a file in hand and a cold sneer on his face. "You're making a mistake," Drew remarked, his voice deceptively calm. Jason did not flinch. "No. You are." The words hung in the air, posing a challenge that no man could ignore. Drew had spent weeks tightening the noose, utilizing every connection and piece of leverage he could to trap Jason. Drew had tried everything: legal threats, whispered gossip, even veiled warnings concerning Jason's family, hoping that the pressure would compel Jason to yield. Drew hadn't relied on Jason's patience, or his ability to strike when least expected. Jason brought out his phone and tapped the screen slowly and deliberately. A second later, Drew's device buzzed. His sneer wavered as he looked down, his face losing color as he read the words. The file in his palm felt heavier as the weight of his own mistakes fell on him. Jason hadn't simply defended himself. He'd gone on the offensive, unearthing truths Drew had hidden deep, secrets that could ruin everything. "You wouldn't," Drew mumbled, but the uncertainty in his voice was clear. Jason did not answer. He did not need to. The damage was done. Across the room, Carly took a long breath, her fingers tightening around her purse strap. She had advised Drew not to push Jason, telling him that threats would only lead to an unwinnable conflict. But Drew, ever the strategist, was certain he held all the power. Now, as he peered at Jason with rage and amazement, it was evident the game had shifted. Sam, who had been observing the argument in quiet, eventually spoke out. "This needs to stop," she remarked, her voice steely. "Before someone gets hurt." But it was too late for that. The lines were established, and neither Jason nor Drew were willing to back down. The hospital, which was supposed to be a haven of healing, had become a battleground, with words as lethal as bullets. As the standoff lasted, the rest of Port Charles remained unaware of the storm gathering within those sterile white walls. Families paid visits to loved ones, physicians made diagnoses, and life went on, but Jason and Drew would never be the same again. Drew made the next move, but Jason made it obvious that he was not backing down. And if Drew wanted a fight, he would get one. The question now was, how far was each man willing to go? The tension at Port Charles had reached a fever pitch, and the air was thick with unsaid threats. Dante Falconeri, a guy noted for his strong moral compass and commitment to justice, found himself pushed to the brink. His customary calm manner had been replaced by a smoldering hatred, and his target was none other than Danny Morgan. The younger man had crossed a line, which Dante could no longer ignore. For weeks, the tension between them had been simmering, a steady burn of distrust and contempt. Danny, reckless and impetuous, had taken one too many deadly actions, endangering innocent lives. Dante had frequently warned him, but Danny appeared to live on defiance. This time, though, things were different. This time, Danny's activities had almost resulted in catastrophe, and Dante was done offering warnings. The confrontation took place in a dimly lighted alley behind the floating rib, where the massive brick walls muffled the sounds of the bar's occupants. Danny had been surrounded, his typical smirk fading as Dante approached him, his voice low and threatening. "Do you think this is a game?" Dante hissed, clenching his hands at his sides. "You could have gotten someone killed." Danny scoffed, but his eyes flickered with anxiety. "Come on, Dante. You are overreacting. Nobody was hurt." "This time," Dante responded. "But how about next time? You don't get to mess with people's lives and then walk away as if nothing happened." The threat was implicit, but Dante made it absolutely obvious. "If you pull another stunt like this, I will not hesitate to charge you with manslaughter. And believe me, I'll make sure they stick." Danny's confidence waned. He had seen Dante in action before and knew that the investigator honored his promises. The threat had settled between them, and Danny appeared to understand the gravity of his actions for the first time. Meanwhile, across town, another storm was developing, causing shockwaves in Port Charles. Brad Cooper, formerly a familiar figure in many people's life, has made a decision that would change everything. After years of secrets, betrayals, and grief, he had had enough. Brad was always a survivor, navigating the volatility of Port Charles with a combination of skill and charm. But even the strongest individuals had limits, and Brad had finally reached his. The falsehoods, the manipulations, and the continual fear that his history would catch up with him. It was all too much. He stood in his now empty flat, the walls scrubbed naked, boxes packed and ready to move. There was no pomp or emotional goodbye, just a silent decision that it was time to depart. Port Charles had taken too much from him, and he was unwilling to give anything else. As he took one last glance around, his phone buzzed. A message from an old acquaintance, possibly a last attempt to entice him back into the drama. But Brad disregarded it. He'd made his decision. The door snapped shut behind him and Brad Cooper was gone. Back in the alley, Danny found his voice, albeit it lacked his customary swagger. "You can't just threaten me like that," he mumbled, but his defiance had faded. Dante did not blink. "Watch me." The distant cry of a police siren shattered the impasse, reminding them of the world beyond their encounter. Dante stepped back, his point delivered. "Here's your final warning, Danny. Next time we'll do this in court." With that, Dante turned and walked away, leaving Danny alone in the darkness, the reality of his situation setting in. The events of the night would reverberate throughout Port Charles, affecting relationships and shifting alliances. Dante had put a line in the sand, and Danny had to choose whether to retreat or face the consequences. Meanwhile, Brad's sudden departure created a hole that would not go unnoticed. In a place where secrets were valued and loyalty was transitory, the only certainty was that nothing remained constant for long. And as the sun rose over Port Charles the next morning, the aftermath of Dante's threat and Brad's departure had only just begun. This extension expands on the initial premise, deepening the rivalry between Dante and Danny and incorporating Brad's departure as a parallel storyline. The tale runs without interruptions or titles, retaining a consistent and compelling tone. Please let me know if you need any changes.